as as the deep panteth for the waters of my soul, and longeth after thee. In you alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. And you alone are my strength and shield. To you alone does my spirit yield. Good morning. In you alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. Yes. Good morning, everybody. And you alone are my strength and shield. To you alone does my spirit yield. Lord, you alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. Oh, Lord, you alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. And oh, Jesus, you alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. Lord, sweet God, you alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wealth Channel. Brother Rick, your gracious host. And we're here today to talk about our master class that's about to take place in a few minutes. But I also want to teach you all about this pending recession that people are worried about. We've got people, prognosticators and economists talking about things about to go into a tailspin or into a whirlwind. And I'm going to talk to you today about how to keep you cool. But first, let me announce to you what's going on in an hour. We'll be live, but we won't be live, but we'll be in a private class. And our class this morning is called How to $1 Million Words. I'm going to teach you some words out of this Black's Law Dictionary that I have. And I'm going to teach you some words. And if you decide you want to practice these words, your money situation will totally turn around. If you decide not just your money situation, but your belief system will totally turn around. Why? Because you believe what you believe, and I believe what we believe based on the words that we ingest. In other words, words are what? Seeds. And seeds are what? What you eat. And when you eat a certain seed and it goes down into your belly and you digest it, then you become the seed that you ate. That's the beauty of words. That's why the difference between the haves and the have-nots are the words that we ingest. Now, it's not always your fault because sometimes you aren't even privy to the words. You don't even know these words exist. And quite often, the words that you hear are not even in the right context. So even though you may hear a word, you may not understand the full meaning of it, meaning that you can only carry out what it is that you are programmed and trained to carry out. You can never behave above your training. It's impossible. You can't You can't go beyond your paradigm. Your paradigm is what? Your perspective on life is what, how you see things. And you can't rise above it. That's why it's very important that you be what? Trained and taught. Some people are opposed to being trained. They look at being trained like, like you're talking to like an animal or something like that. I'm saying no. People have animalistic behavior who are not trained. People who are trained are and educated. I'm talking about real education, not these child concentration camps they call schools. Because these textbooks were written and approved by the Federal Reserve. So the words that you hear in school is slave language. Let me just ask you this. If you did everything that they told you to do in school, and you have a degree, and you got a master's, and you got a doctorate, and you're still poor, obviously, whatever you got taught, even at the apex of it, it doesn't produce anything. It's not really productive. Meaning that what? Even if you win, you still lost. So the words that you hear are very important, because the words that you hear, they make the big difference between whether or not you are advancing or whether or not you are going backwards, because there is no neutrality in life. Life doesn't have any neutrality. Either you're going forward or you're going back or you're going backwards. And there is no respect of persons. That's for every single person on the face of the earth. So the question becomes, what words move you forward and what words keep you back? Or what meaning of words moves you forward and what meaning of words keep you back? So that's what we're going to be talking about at the top of the hour. So if you just DM me Masterclass on Instagram, you'll automatically be able to come. If you're not on Instagram, if you're here looking at me here on Facebook or YouTube and you want to come, you're welcome. You're welcome to come. We started at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern this morning. And all you have to do is Keymaker, if you can put info@stellarwealthmanagement.com. If you can put that in the chat for me, I'd appreciate that. And all you have to do is email me at info@stellarwealthmanagement.com if you're not on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, just DM me Masterclass and it'll automatically send you everything you need to do. All right. But if you're not there and you're looking here, then that's the way to get going. So what I want to talk to you for this next few minutes is that people are talking about the idea of a recession. And I want you to know that a recession, or what people call a recession, is really just an amazing opportunity to get rich. Whenever things start going chaotic on one side of money, people get real wealthy on the other side of money. The question becomes, what approach do you take and what attitude and what temperament do you take? So the best way to keep your cool is to stay on the offensive. All right. In other words, the best offense is offense. That's why Jesus, he said, when Jesus was getting ready to go, he said, listen, I want you to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every living creature. All right. He said, baptize the people in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. He said, go. Go is 2/4 of God's name. Go, G-O, that's 2/4 of God's name. And the way to keep from panicking and the way to stop being worried about what's going to happen to you is to be on the offensive. Are you listening to me? God, if you notice, God gave us all this armor. He said, put on the breastplate of righteousness. He said, put on the shield of faith. He said, put on the helmet of salvation. Have have the belt of truth on. Have your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. He says, however, the class is this morning, you all. So if you got a message that says the wrong thing, the class is this morning. Okay, the class is not the class is today. So if you got a message that said the wrong thing, the class is today. All right. So make sure that you come to class. It's today. If you got the 17th, somebody messed up or something, man. And sometimes they mess up. They might have messed up a message. So if you got that, just disregard that. The class is today at 11 o'clock a.m. Okay. So I look forward to seeing you if you all decide you want to come. So here's the idea. The idea is that in order to keep a steady head, you have to what? Be steadily ahead. All right. Let me give it to you one more time. In order to keep a steady head, you have to be what? Steadily ahead. Steadily ahead. In other words, I'm like, look, I'm not going to panic about what's going on. I'm just going to stay so far ahead of the game until when everybody else start panicking and everybody else start going and everybody else's businesses start going down. I'm going to be in a position where what? I can even buy companies and do things that'll keep me ahead of the game. That's what I'm teaching you today. So even if there's a recession, and there is always one, there's always corrections in the market. It always happens. All right. And it could happen, could be happening this last quarter, could start happening at the beginning of the year. It could happen. All right. But what I'm telling you is that it doesn't matter. See, the idea is that what's going on around you, that's not what's important. What's going on inside of you is what's important, because that means that if you can't control what's going on around you, but you can control what's going on inside of you, why wouldn't you put 100% of your control over controlling what's going on inside of you? And then you can influence what's going on around you. Why? Because cooler heads, they always prevail. That's why the Bible says that to be swift to hear and be slow to speak and be slow to wrath, because the wrath of man that don't work the righteousness of God. In other words, God is like, baby, keep you cool. All right. Jesus said, man, he said, in the world, you're going to have trouble. He said, but be of good cheer. He said, because I already overcome the world. He said, Jesus, like, hey, man, hey, brother, hey, sister, just chill out. No, why? But you can chill out when you've been doing things in advance. Now, this is not a message to become lazy and to see that winter is coming and to walk around with some flip-flops on in the middle of winter. I'm not suggesting that, all right? It's just like when I was locked up and it was getting ready to get cold. So I was singing on the praise team in the penitentiary. I'm singing on the praise team. So this dude is like, he's like, hey, it's time for them to pass out some coats. So I said, hey, I'm ready. I want to get my coat today. He said, but ain't you going to church, Williams? I said, yeah, that's where I normally go. And I said, but I said, I can go to church anytime. I'm going to get my coat today. I want to be in advance. I want to be proactive. So he was like, well, man, we know where you're going. I tell you what, he said, go on over to the church, Williams, and we'll send somebody over there to give you a pass to go get your coat. Now I'm thinking this dude is tripping. Ain't nobody finna come in the penitentiary, finna come to the chapel over at the praise team and tell me to come out from practicing with the praise team and go get my coat. I know I ain't that important. All right. I don't have no visions, no delusions of grandeur like that. But he was insistent upon it. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe he legit. I said, all right, cool. So I go and we start singing and practicing. And sure enough, nobody comes and shows up. So I'm like, I knew this dude was sending me off. You dig? So when I get back, he gone. So the next morning, some new dudes there. So I said, listen, man. I said, yesterday, I asked for my coat, my winter coat. I said, and this cat, he sent me off. He sent me over to the praise team and told me to go sing. Like y'all was really going to send a special messenger to come over and pull me out of church to get me to go get my coat. And I know y'all don't get down like this in the penitentiary. I know that ain't how y'all don't roll like that. All right. And I don't even expect it. I said, I'm trying to figure out why he sent me off like that. So they said, yeah, Williams, we'll get back to you. I'm like, get back to me. No, I want my coat, man. All right. I want my coat. So a couple of days went by. They kept stalling. And then finally he said, hey, Williams, we're trying to make sure that you was really over at church when you said you was over there. And once we get that verified, we'll help you to be able to get your coat. I said, man, stop playing with me. All right. I said, doggone well where I was. Ain't nobody around here without everywhere you go, you got to sign a piece of paper to go there. All right. It used to be where you could just walk up and down the aisles and stuff, but they beat the brakes off of one of these sergeants one day because one of the sergeants was talking real crazy to the inmates. He told them they couldn't take no shower. So they was like, what? He all by himself too, just an arrogant young stud. And he talking real crazy to all these brothers. He's like, y'all can't take no shower. So they was like, we can't take no shower. They was like, they beat the brakes off that mud and they took over the whole building. And they like, wow, they was just angry. I'm like, what? How you gonna disrespect me? And I'm already locked up. You're gonna tell me I can't take a shower? I gotta walk around here funky too. Are you crazy? All right. So they jumped on, and he's stupid too, because he's the only dude over there. They whooped that dude and to submit. Next time he saw that dude, he was calling people sir. they beat the bad sense about that man, and because he was really arrogant, real arrogant dude. But I'm telling you, they humbled that cat. Next time you saw him, he was calling people sir. So these guys are trying to treat me the way he was trying to treat them dudes, and I'm like, man, I'm not having that. I want my coat. So they ignored me. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go and talk to the chief sergeant. This dude's name was Brown. Brown's so crazy. I think Brown locked up right now. Brown was so crazy. He would whoop you on sight, and but he really liked if you was a legit dude and you wasn't about no nonsense. He really had a lot of respect for you, and he really had a lot of respect for us because we sang on the praise team and we had a legitimate praise team. I'm talking about we could sing. We sound like somebody that we sound like a world-class band, And you can tell the only reason we even knew each other was because we was all locked up. Ain't nowhere in the world we would have probably would have ever met each other under any other kind of circumstances, you dig? But we wasn't around there crying the blues and acting like little punks. We was just grateful that life was no worse than what it was. So we was singing and praising God and having a great time. Let me tell you something. I don't care what your body is. I don't care what you're going through. All right. Your freedom ain't based on where you physically are. Your freedom is based on where you mentally are. Your freedom is based on where you spiritually are. Your freedom is based on your gratitude. Your freedom is based on your service. You can serve anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're going through. You don't have to be sitting around complaining about your situation. You can be grateful for wherever you are and whatever your circumstances are, and just be glad they ain't no worse. Just be glad that God ain't pushed your head back to the white meat like what you deserve. That's the attitude I take towards life. I'm not sitting around crying and complaining and whimpering and acting like nothing's a big deal. Why? Because ain't nothing no big deal. You dig what I'm saying? Everything could have been worse than what it is. Worse things than happen to better people than me. And I ain't never got what I had coming, and you ain't either. So you snap up out of that stuff. And that way you can have a good, gracious attitude, and you can be a person that's worth being around, because people don't like anybody that's about something. We don't like being around complaining nags. Are you listening to me? And little sissies and poop butts talking about your situation like you're the only one that ever went through something, or you're the only one that's never had to forgive somebody, or you're the only one that's never crossed somebody. Showing the rest of the human race. All right. So it is what it is. You can't undo that stuff. Just make sure that you do right now. Take the bull by the horns and get to work. Okay. And stop crying the blues and be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful. So that was my attitude. My attitude was like, I'm not going to sit around here and let nobody just dog me. I mean, I'm already locked up, player. You ain't going to be dogging me while I'm locked up. I'm getting my coat. So I went, hold on, y'all. I got to turn this heat off. It's been real cold over here. I'm at Shanti's house and I ain't used to the heat. See, y'all pray for me. I travel a lot. And because I travel a lot, these weather, it just changes everywhere I'm at. I'm always fighting a sore throat, always fighting sinuses like all year long because I'm in and out of different climates all the time. And to go from like, I'm talking about even when you're in a hotel, the room, one minute is hot, the next minute is cold. And you can get sick, if you're not careful. So pray for me. That's why I'm drinking this tea and honey. And I really just would like some relief from this stuff. But you know what? Everybody got a cross to carry, So I ain't complaining. I'm just asking for prayer because prayer, it helped change things. That's why Shanti's feeling better today because y'all prayed for her. Because she was miserable last week. Miserable. Headaches, dealing with lupus, all kind of stuff. Pending surgeries and all that stuff. Mentally depressed. And y'all prayed for her. And we spent 2 days, just the last 2 days, laughing and joking and riding go-karts and all kind of stuff. So that's because y'all prayed, though. And I'm not stupid. Some people think that you just skate through life and you don't need no prayer and you doing all this on your own. I ain't tripping like that. I know better. All right. I know that the fervent, effectual prayer of a righteous man, it availeth much. And I know because y'all pray and we all pray for each other. I know that's why we getting these breakthroughs. And I know that's why our lives are changing. I know that's why we have good sunny days to look forward to because of the power of prayer. So anyway, these cats didn't want to give me my coat. And I knew that winter was coming. You see, just like y'all might be worried about a recession right now, one is coming. It's going to happen. There are never trends that's just always upward. So a recession is on its way. So don't worry about it, though. Why? Just be prepared for the winter. So what did I do? I said, I went to my main man, Sergeant Brown, and went to him by myself. I said, since they ain't listening to me, I'm going to go talk to Sergeant Brown because he had a lot of respect for us because of the way we carried ourselves. So I said, hey, Sarge, I said, I've been asking these guys for my coat for 3 days. I said, they ignoring me, man. He said, what's that? I said, they ignoring me, Sarge. I said, they just playing me off, man. They playing, act like I don't exist. They act like I don't have rights. They act like I'm not a human being. And I don't like it, Sarge. It's disrespectful. All I asked them for is a coat. I deserve my coat just like anybody else. They sent me off. They told me to go to church. They playing me, man, and they talk to me like I'm a little boy and I don't appreciate it. I'm trying to do it the right way. All right. I want to go off and all that. So he said, he said, look, when you get back over there, you tell them what I said. And then he sent a message over to the coat place. He said, tell them to have your coat pronto. All right. So I got back to the place to where I was living at, the dorm where I was living at. So when I got back in there, it was a dude with a peg leg and two white guys, one with a peg leg and this other dude, just a regular dude. two sergeants, whatever they was, captains, whatever they was. So the dude with the peg leg, he really ain't got good sense. Somebody had already shot his leg off. Now you would think this cat would have learned his lesson when somebody shot his leg off, but it made him bitter because he was even more bitter than he was before he got his leg shot off, because now he only got one leg, and the only joy he can get out of life is talking crazy to prisoners. Why? Because it's the only place we can get away with it. He walks and plays with who? Where else you gonna walk around talking crazy to people when you got a peg leg? What? Somebody slap you down the stairs? What you gonna do? Nothing. Right. So the only place he could talk crazy to people was in the jail. So he was doing what he can do to get stuff he can get away with. So they called me over and said, "Hey man, we heard you went to the sergeant and asked for your coat." I said, "Yep. Yeah, yes, sir, I sure did." He said, "Man, why you do that, man? I mean, you trying to override us." I say, "Well, I've been talking to y'all for 3 days, and you act like winter ain't coming. I'm talking to you all today about the recession and the fact that it's coming, but just be prepared ahead of time. I'm going to show you how to be prepared. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of business and how you can get rich during a recession. All right. But first, I'm just giving you some examples of my life and telling you how you got to learn how to be ahead of time, and how you got to be the kind of person who does things ahead of time and don't care who gets intimidated by it or who don't like it and all of that." Yeah, I'm living my life, partner. I ain't living your life. All right. And you got to tell people, I'm living my life. I'm not living your life. You're not about to let your emergencies become my urgencies. I'm going to do things ahead of time. You do whatever you want to do at your time, but I'm not going to trick my time off, because I know winter is coming. I know recessions are coming. I know things ain't going to always be as good as they are. I know that sooner or later things they're going to get worse, but they're not going to get worse for me. Why? Because I don't live in a recession. I live in what? I live in victory 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Why? Because I'm a prepared man, and I'm telling you to be the same way. I'm exhorting you to be the same way. I'm encouraging you to be the same way and to practice the same principles, and you'll have the same results. So I wasn't having it. I wasn't gonna sit around and let these dudes just punk me, and then I end up walking up and down the place in the middle of winter, freezing, because they didn't care. And then I end up sick and all that sort of thing, catching diseases and all that, because they didn't care. So I was demanding my stuff. I'm like, "You're not gonna treat me like that." So I went to the sergeant and I told him, I said, "Man, they don't want to give me my coat." And he told them, "Marks, give me my coat." So when I got back, they ain't like it. So the first dude, he said, "Hey, Rick Williams, listen, do you have any children?" I said, "I have several children." "Why?" He said, "Well, because you know how one parent goes to the other parent, and then they say, listen, and they try to play tricks on the parents, and one does one thing." I say, "Partner, you need to get to the point." All right. I say, "Because I'm a grown man. I'm not no child. How you doing some analogies with me about children?" All right. I got a whole host of children and grandchildren. I'm a grown man. I say, "That's a bad example you're showing me if you're trying to compare yourself to my daddy. Partner, you ain't my daddy. What's wrong with you? What are you smoking?" All right. So I said, "I want my coat. And that's all I'm concerned about. If it hurts your feelings, that's too bad, because you should have gave it to me 3 days ago. And I don't know what you think this is. Winter is coming. And I'm not going to be sitting around here freezing when winter comes, worried about your feelings. This ain't y'all playing around with grown men like you playing. This ain't no joke, man. We are grown men, and we deserve to be treated like men. We don't deserve to be treated like little punks and poo butts and like you run the world and all that. So you better move around. All right, ain't nothing happening." He said, "All right, that's it, Williams." He said, "You know what? I try to talk to you man to man." Right. Trying to talk to me man to man. He said, "Now I'm going to talk to you like an inmate. All right. You don't know what we can do to people like you around here." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." All right. And now I'm getting mad and I want to hit him in the jaw. But God is like, "Don't you respond to that nonsense." See, I'm teaching you today how to keep your cool. All right. Because when winter is coming, everybody starts panicking. And what happens? They start trying to talk to you like you some type of little poobah or something. But sometimes it ain't even worth responding to. Are you listening to me? Just because somebody say something to you, you don't always have to respond to that stuff. Hey, listen to me, just be cool. You dig? Even though you mad on the inside. Because of course on the inside, I done already hit him I done already gave him a 35 piece with no ketchup on the inside. I done already bing! All kind of stuff going through my head. But I'm not gonna let my emotions get the best of me and do something stupid or do something that puts you in a more precarious, compromised situation. Are you listening to me? Because winter is coming. And what? You live in a dog eat dog world, and people, they live for the idea of trying to stand on top of you. That's what understanding means. It means that somebody is standing on top of you and you are under their standing. So don't put yourself in that position. Don't let them stand on top of you. Do what? Be like Jesus. When it wasn't time for Jesus to say nothing, he ain't say nothing. They say, "Man, you the Son of God. Tell us what up." The Bible says he didn't say a word. Why? Because it wasn't time for him to talk. He was like, "You know what? I let my life do the talking, okay? All right. Just let your life do the talking. Sometimes people talking to you, talking crazy, you trying to intimidate you and all that sort of thing. Just let your life do the talking. Just maintain your composure and be cool. All right. Even though that ain't the way you feel it. So I ignored that mom. I just act like he wasn't talking. He talked real crazy. He said, and next week, when you stand in front of the board, we get taking all of your good time and da 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 da, and you'll never be the same around here again. Threatening me, talking real crazy to me just because he could. I said, when he got through with all that, I said, are you done? He said, yeah. I said, enjoy the rest of your night. And walked. I was mad as hell, but I didn't show it. I said, you done? He was like, yeah. I said, well, you enjoy the rest of your night. So I just went on back. I was mad. I was smoking mad. I just went back and I started writing letters to the superintendent. All kind of stuff was going across my mind. And then, so the next week was coming up when I was supposed to go have this meeting you have to have every week with these cats, so-called counseling cats. So the next week, he said, these people are going to take all your free time. Listen to me good. Let me tell you, when a man's ways please the Lord, how he'll make your enemies be at peace with you. All you got to do is just stay calm. Are you listening to me? So the next week, I'm supposed to have this meeting with the people. Let me tell you something. Not only did I not have a meeting with the people, but they got on the intercom and announced that the whole system that you having to meet with these people have been dissolved forever. Not just for me, for everybody. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? Are you hearing what I could have panicked? I could have panicked and went off on that dude, went off and all that sort of a thing. And it would have been me. I would have got a little revenge with him. And what would have happened? My panic mode would have took all the good time, all kind of stuff. I might not even be knowing you. I might not even be talking to you right now. Why? Because God is telling you today that, yeah, you're up under some pressure. Yeah, winter is coming. Yeah, a recession is on its way. But what? Stay calm. Okay? Don't make no big deal out of it. Why? Because it ain't no recession to God. It's a recession to the people who believe it's a recession. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? It's panic and all that sort of thing. It happens based on what? It happens based on your personal belief. What happens to you as an individual, what happens to me as an individual is based on our individual response to what? Winter, when winter is coming. And what? Intimidation, when people try to intimidate us. And what? When folk talking crazy and barking like dogs and barking like chickens and quacking like a chicken and all that sort of thing. Ignore that stuff. All right? You too cool for that, baby. You too cool for that, brother. You too cool for that, sister. All right? You a king. You a queen. You don't change your demeanor because people around you acting a fool or because circumstances become apparently unbearable. None of this stuff is unbearable. The Bible says there is no temptation that has taken man, but is such as that has taken us, but is such as common to man. You say, but God is faithful, who won't suffer us to be tempted above that which we're able, but will with the temptation make a way to escape, that we might be able to bear it. The Bible say, man, we are cool customers, baby. Why? Our blood pressure don't go up. We're not what? Well, here's a word I want y'all to get used to. What's the name of this word? This is a word. It's called apoplectic, and it says overcome with anger, extremely indignant. All right, it's called, and it comes from a word called apoplexy. Apoplexy is a rupture of an internal organ and the accompanying symptoms. In other words, don't bust a blood vessel. All right, don't be apoplectic and snapping and going off and your blood pressure all jacked up and all that sort of thing. Based on what? Based on the extenuating, anyway, outside circumstances. Why? Because winter is coming, okay? But don't worry about that. I'm talking to you today about how to stay cool and calm during what? Recessions and what? Pressured times and what? Stress and all of that. I'm telling you how to behave. And what's going to happen? What's going to end up happening in your life is you're going to end up being a serious baller and a serious shot caller, and you're going to have what most people around you could never have. Why? Because they don't have what you already got. Are you listening to me? People will never have a lot of material stuff because they ain't got enough spiritual stuff inside of them. So the material stuff eludes us. Why? Because we all wrapped up, tied up, and tangled up in the current circumstances or the pending circumstances. And what the heck? Go into panic mode. All right. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Okay. Here's Sam Zell. Here's a good way to deal with a recession. Now, for my friends who are part of our posterity group, we're reading a book called Am I Being Too So? So I just want to give you all some heads up on how to get rich, real rich. Study billionaires. So one of our billionaires, my number one billionaire mentee, he just passed away in May. His name is Sam Zell. I've talked to you about him I don't know how many times. His book is called Am I Being Too So? My friends, we're studying this book, taking quizzes on it, and we're learning multi-million-dollar moves to make, in fact, billion-dollar moves to make by reading this man's book. So Sam talks about what happened when he was about to go into, when it was about to be a recession back in the 90s. He said what he decided to do, he said he had 2,400 employees. He said, and man, he couldn't even pay the payroll. $1 billion business he had, $1 billion company, but the banks were drying up and they weren't lending money the way they ordinarily lend money. So he didn't have the ability to be able to keep his cash flow coming in and out because Sam Zell lived his life based on raising capital. Now, if you come over to our class coming up in a few minutes and a half an hour, if you come over to our class, I'm going to really teach you the difference between the word debt and teach you how rich people don't look at debt as debt. Rich people look at debt as capital. All right. So I'm going to teach you the difference between the two, because if you don't understand these words, you're going to end up poor. Why? Because the way you've been taught about debt and capital is you've been taught that debt is a bad thing. And that's the way you've been taught, because the word doesn't have the right connotation to you, because you have the poor meaning of the word in your head. If you're poor, if you're not a millionaire and working on multi-millions, then you have some words in your head, and the meaning of them that you have is the meaning that the system wanted you to have to keep you poor. All right. So I'm going to teach you the difference between those words. So Sam Zell, he said, listen, I got 2,400 employees and we going into a recession. He said, the banks are drying up. Not only was the banks drying up in terms of lending money, the banks was actually starting to call people loans in. You say, what does that mean, Brother Rick? Calling in a loan. That meant that they were telling you that the loan you got with us, we just want all the money right now, even though you was paying a loan off, even though you were paying it. Not that you was behind, not that you was trifling. This is the way it is when recessions take place. When a recession takes place, banks call in their loans. In other words, they're like, we need more liquid money around here and we don't have enough liquid cash. Okay, so we want your whole loan back. So that's how you know a recession is coming, or that's how you know you're part of a recession, when banks start doing that. So Sam Zell was like, well, how am I going to deal with this? Because I got 2,400 employees. So Sam Zell, he worked on principles, Bible principles. Sam Zell happened to be a Jew. That's why Jews make so much money, because they learn the Bible. They got Bible principles. And because they operate out of these Bible principles, that's why they're like the richest people on the whole face of the earth, even though they only make up a certain portion of the earth. It would do you well to study Jewish millionaires and billionaires, the Rothschilds and the banks and Sam Zell and all these rich cats. It would do you well as a studier of wealth, as a studier of posterity, and as a studier of generational wealth. It would do you well to study the people that's really wealthy, as opposed to studying having conversations with broke people and mediocre folks and folks that's got a few dollars and all of that. So Sam Zell is a great example for you to follow, because you can see his pattern that he did. Sam said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run straight towards the problem. That's the way you deal with recessions, and that's the way you deal with problems. You just run straight towards the problem. You decide, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead, go straight towards the problem, and I'm going to cut off the head of the problem. I'm not going to let the problem become stressful to me. I'm not going to let the problem do get me down. I'm not going to let the problem start making me being anxious. I'm not going to start conjuring up a whole lot of stuff that ain't even true based on this problem, because this problem is not bigger than me. All right. For example, David. Sam Zell had the same spirit as David. What did David do? David said, listen, what's going on around here? They said, we got a giant problem over here. And he talking real crazy to everybody. David said, he said, well, let me at him. So watch what David did. Watch David. Watch what David. This is what the Bible said about David. He said, therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof and slew him and cut off his head therewith. He said, and when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. All right. So I got a new song for y'all. All right. I know some of y'all around my age, you up on Superfly and Curtis Mayfield, you dig. And he had a cut called what? Fred is dead. But I came by here to tell you this morning that Goliath is dead. Did you hear what I said? I said Goliath is dead. Did you hear what I said? All right. Y'all ain't listen. I ain't got no church up in here this morning. Goliath is dead. And that's what I said, yeah. I said G is dead. Just call Goliath G. That's what everybody put it in text right quick. Say G is dead in the chat box, and I promise you I'll finish teaching you this before we go over to our free class. We got anybody else over here that know that the giants are dead in your life? I said, did you know that the giants are dead in your life? If you believe that, speak over your own life and put it in the chat box right now. G is dead. I'm talking about that giant in your life. He's dead. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? I'm telling you, Goliath is dead. Are you hearing why? Because we chopped his head off. That's right. Come on, speak over your life right now. Let's go. I hear you, Keymaker. G is dead. I hear you, Eddie. G is dead. Anybody else got no heart around here? You ain't ready to face your giant? You better chop his head off. That mark is dead. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? Speak over your own life this morning. G is dead. Are you hearing me? Maybe y'all didn't hear the song. Let me run it by you one more time. G is dead. Burning, burning, burning. But that's what I said. Yeah. G is dead. Why? Because we cut his head off. So you run straight towards the problem and you deal with it. Okay? Stop letting your problem turn into something bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. G is dead, baby. That's what I said. Why? Because we chopped off his head. I said, G is dead, baby. That's what I said. Why? Because we chopped off his head. G is dead. That's what I said. Why? Because we chopped off his head. Are you picking up when I put down what? The problem. You go head on into the problem. So Sam Zell, who lived by these Bible principles, these wealth Bible principles, he said, let me go and deal with G. What is G? G is the fact that his giant that he needed to chop off was the fact that he couldn't get money from the banks. So Sam said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on a binge and get private investors. So he started doing public offerings. All right, private offerings, public offerings of companies. He went to companies that were what? They looked good on paper. They had good, but I mean they had good ideas, but they were being mismanaged. So he was called the grave dancer. He would go and look at companies who were dead and bring them back to life. Why? Because he had good management skills. So if you want to work on any skill to become wealthy, work on your management skills. Oh, yes, work on your management skills. Learn the techniques of managing people and managing systems. All right. In other words, put everybody in place who does good what it is that they do, and you do what it is that you do. That's how you manage systems, all right? And then you let the people do what? You give them an autonomy of getting down and handling their business, and then let them report to you. You see, Sam Zell wasn't a CEO. He was the chairman of the board. In other words, he had what? CEOs that reported to him, and he helped them with their problems, and that's how he amassed an amazing fortune. I got a question for you. When are you going to move up from being a CEO to being a chairman of the board? Are you hearing what I'm telling you? You say, what do you mean the chairman of the board? The chairman of the board is the person that the CEOs come to. And in order for you to become a wealthy person, you're going to have to learn how to deal with people. Meaning that what? You're going to have to learn how to figure problems out and be proactive ahead of time and deal with the problem. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Sam Zell was just like David. He looked at the problem. The giant problem that he had was they didn't have enough cash flow coming into their business to pay their 2,400 employees. So he said, instead of panicking and starting to sell off all of his assets, he said, I'm not going to do that. He said, I'm going to run straight towards this giant. Remember what I told you? I said 2/3 of God's name is what? Go! And what he said that means to go forward. That's why we don't have any armor for the back. We don't have no armor for our back. Why? Because God got our back. And he tell us what? You go forward because I got your back, because you can't go backwards and forward at the same time. He said, I'm not putting nothing on your back. You said, Ricky, no wonder I'm getting stabbed in my back so much, because I ain't got no armor for my back. You don't need no armor for your back. God is a back surgeon. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? He gonna let you get stabbed in the back. That's why he didn't put no armor on your back. Why? Because that's what you just gotta flinch and take. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? You ain't getting nowhere in life without getting stabbed in the back. Are you hearing? They smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. The what? Backstabbers. Backstabbers, na, 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 na. What they do? They smile in your face. Man, don't worry about that. All right? That's to be expected. They're going to smile in your face, but all the time they want to take your place to backstabbers. God ain't about to give you no armor for your back. Why? Because he said, I am your real reward. I have your back. He said, and by faith, you just keep going forward and let me just do the back surgery, baby. Anybody had any back surgery by God? Let me tell you, the only BS I'm involved in, I'm only involved in one type of BS, and that's back surgery, baby. Why? God, he prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemies, and he hadn't had my back all my life, and he had your back all your life too, or you wouldn't be here right now. The only reason you're here because God got your back. Only reason that you able to walk right now with all those knives in your back is because God did some amazing back surgery on you. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? And he is not going to give you no armor for your back, because he is the armor for your back. Are you picking up? Are you hearing what I'm saying? All right. Everybody give me some BS in that chat. Come on. Everybody put it in the chat. Give me some BS. Come on, let's go. Give me some BS. Lord, give me some back surgery. Let's go. Where y'all at? That's the only BS you ought to have around here. Are you hearing? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Come on, put it in the chat box so you can let God know that you trust him. All right. Come on, give me some BS. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Give me some BS. Let's go. Give me some BS. Come on, tell the Lord, give me some BS. I want some back surgery, Lord. I don't need you to put no arm on my back. You got my back. All right, come on, give me some BS, Lord. Let's go. Y'all know y'all got some knives in y'all back right now. You better ask God for that back surgery, baby. Come on, say, give me some BS, Lord. Give me some BS. Lord, my back, I can feel them knives in my back right now. If it wasn't for you, I'd be done died. What? I'd be done bled out. What? If you don't give me some back surgery, come on. Speak to God. Talk to God. Tell him what you need. Come on, speak over your life. Tell him what you need. Come on, say, give me some BS, Lord. Come on, give me some BS. I need some back surgery. I got these knives knee deep up in my back. These folk don't like me. They crazy as hell. They jealous as all get up. That's the way your life is. You're not going to go around without nobody stabbing you in the back. Snap out of it, all right? God is what? Your real reward. And give me some back surgery, Lord. So Sam said, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to raise capital. So Sam did what? He went out and raised $1 billion for what? Other companies who are what? Having cash flow problems. Let me explain to you. This is how you get rich. You get rich what? Because you realize that your problem, a whole bunch of other people got it too. And then you decide what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and help fix everybody else's problem. And then that's the way God going to fix mine. Are you listening to me? This is what Sam Zell did. Sam got plenty. He got plenty sense. And that's why he had plenty of dollars. All right. He said, look, I'm not the only one having a cash flow problem around here, because what? He said, we headed knee deep into a recession. But he didn't back up and retreat. Why? Because there is no armor for backing up and retreating. The only armor is going forward. All right. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And you can't be worried about what's going to happen to your back. You got to trust God for that. And that's why the commandment is what? Go! Because go is what? 2/3 of God's name. And he'll always be calm and cool as long as you what? Going forward and letting God have your back. So Sam said, listen, he said, he went around, he started looking at companies that had a problem. And these guys are panicking. They trying to figure out, man, how in the world are we going to get out of this situation? So you got to remember, when you panic, listen to me good. When you panic, you fall out of balance. All right. And the Bible says that a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So when you panic, you get stiff. And when you stiff, you whiff. Are you picking up what I'm putting? Imagine standing at the plate. All right. Standing at the plate and ain't taking no swings. All right. Why? Because you stiff. What? Stiff panics. What? Frozen in panic. Are you hearing me? So what? When you stiff, you whiff. What? You can't swing. Are you digging what I'm saying? When I was about 9 years old, I was living in projects on the south side of Chicago. And some cats came to get me to come play baseball. They said, hey, Rick, this is dude up here throwing smoke. Can't nobody hit him. I was a good athlete at 9 years old. But you couldn't leave out the project unless you had somebody to escort you a block away, unless you wanted to fight 25 dudes, because now you're in their gang, so-called gang territory. So I was like, cool, because they was part of a gang that wasn't in our project. But we didn't care. We was good athletes, so they didn't care nothing about that. They was like, just come on over, Rick. I wasn't in no gang at 9 years old. But these dudes gang bangers though. So they was like, come on over, Rick, and see if you can hit this dude, because you're a co-athlete. So I said, all right, cool. So we got so I went up to bat, and this dude is throwing smoke. And I mean, you can't even see this young dude. I don't know how old he was. He might have been 12. But he had an arm like, I don't know who, like the White Gooden or something. He had an arm like he was an all-star major league pitcher at this little league game we playing. Well, a made-up game. We didn't have no little league. We too broke for all that. We didn't have no league. Anyway, we just made up our own games. So this dude, he reached back and he threw the ball. I'm scared as hell. I ain't gonna lie. I'm up there. I'm getting ready to bat. I'm scared of him too. Why? Because I don't want to get hit. I'm like, if this dude hit me, I'm sure my life is over with, because he throwing look like 100 miles an hour. I mean, you couldn't even see the ball. He throwing so fast. So I just did what every red blooded 9-year-old would do. You did. I closed my eyes, and he threw the ball. I closed my eyes. Crack! Got a straight up lucky hit to right field, because I never saw the ball. But you know what? I wasn't so stiff that I was going to whiff. I said, what if I go down? I'm going down swinging, banging, baby. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? And I cracked the ball to right field. It was a lucky hit, but what the heck? You can't even get lucky if you ain't in the game. Even though I don't believe in luck, you dig what I'm saying? But bottom line is, I could have never got a hit if I hadn't been up there. So what? I swung, knocked the runs in that put us in the lead. I slid in the third base. They called me out. I was safe, but what? It's a thug neighborhood and all that sort of thing. They say, don't even fight them, Rick. You got the runs, man. It's all right. I'm like, but I was safe, man. I was safe. They was like, don't even worry about it, man. We got the winning. We got the winning runs. You just knocked the ball in. This is what we came to recruit you for. So what's my point? My point is, when you stiff, baby, you whiff. Why? Because you can't even swing. And that's what happens when you are so worried about what's about to take place. But if you just get up and let God have your back and you start going forward, then you won't panic. Hey, listen to me. I'm talking to you today about how to keep you cool. And I'm telling you that, yes, there is a recession coming. But I'm telling you, so what? Why? Because greater is he that's in you than he that's in the world. And it's your chance to get really wealthy and really rich when it comes, because now you can be making moves right now to be set up for people who ain't making no move because they stiff. So what? That's what Sam Zell did. He said all these people are stiff. They don't know. They don't realize what they got. They don't know how to raise capital for themselves because they're so nervous about their current position, and they got to have somebody come in. So what he started doing, he started buying their companies with other people's money. He raised $1 billion of other people's $1 billion now of other people's money to do what? To start going in and buying these people's businesses. And then he did what? He owned a percentage of their businesses. Then he gave his investors a percentage of the money back, and he had all this massive profit. He ended up with 1,297% worth of profit on just one of the companies that he sold during this time. He started buying a whole lot of radio stations. He went from 17 stations to over 240 stations with other people's money in the middle of a recession, and got super, super rich in the middle of a recession. Why? Because he didn't panic. All right. What'd he do? He didn't get up there and whiff. Are you digging what I'm saying? You say, because if you're stiff, you're gonna whiff. And when you mean, that means you're ready to swing. See, I'm mean. I'm already ready. I'm mean in this business world. All right. The Bible says in malice to be a child, but in business to be a man. So I'm mean. When I say mean, I don't mean I'm mean towards people. I mean, I go into everything with meaning. I go into everything intentional. Are you digging? Are you picking up what I'm telling you? You gotta, when you're mean, baby, you get a good swing. All right. When you're mean, you get a good swing. And it don't mean a thing. What, baby, if it ain't got that swing? Matter of fact, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that what? That mean swing. Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Crack. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Boom. All right. Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. And they talked about this lady named Bessie Jones. They said Bessie Jones, she didn't swing much. All right. She didn't know anything about raising capital. All right. I'm gonna teach you all this when we talk about these words over, for all you all to come over to the class. And one more time, to give you this announcement. In about 10 minutes, we're about to have a class, a free class. And I'm going to teach you these words from out the Black's Law Dictionary here. And I'm going to teach you some multi-million-dollar words. And if you behave like this, then you'll be able to become a millionaire. I ain't talking about what I heard. I'm talking about how I became a millionaire, because I know words that most people don't know. And I came up from nothing, being broke, dead broke, and homeless, to being a millionaire because I understand these words and what they mean. So Bessie Jones, she didn't understand the difference between capital and debt. So she thought that she looked at debt as being a liability, but she didn't understand that debt is capital. She didn't understand that. Just like you don't understand. You're gonna have to come to class to understand that. All right. So on her appetite, she died. She died without no money. She had like a house that was paid for. She had like an 800 credit score, but she didn't have no money. She ain't passed no knowledge, no wisdom, no understanding to her kids. She gave them a house that had some equity in it. They ran in there and ransacked that joint and spent that money in 15 minutes because a fool and his money gonna soon depart. That's why you need to come to class. And if your kid's out of school, or anybody you training or teaching, if I have a free class, not only do you need to be there, but you need to bring them. All right, because I would tell anybody that anybody think they're gonna ever get a penny of money that I got, you're gonna have to come to class. I'm not giving no ignorant people no money. I don't care who you are, my daughter, my sister, I don't care who you are. Why? Because it's your personal time that you spend. What you decide to do with your personal time is your business, okay? But I'm not going to give my hard-earned money to you because my legacy going to be over with. That's why I just got through telling Joy. Shantice just took Joy to school. He's 10. So I just gave him $100 for some stock that he's invested in. He's 10 now. All right. I said, we're going to watch this stock every day, Joey. Okay. And we're going to pay attention to whether it's going up or down. And then you're going to let me know whether you're making a capital gain or whether or not you're having a capital loss. He's responsible for that stuff. He's 10 years old. All right. Why am I doing that? Because he's about to go to school for 8 hours and they ain't going to talk to him about hardly nothing that means nothing. He's going to be in school for I don't know how many hours today. He ain't going to have one class on stocks, one class on bonds, one class on nothing financial. Nothing. Why? Because the person that's teaching them don't own no stocks and don't own no bonds and ain't got no companies and ain't got no businesses. So they're not even equipped to even teach them. They're going to be teaching them a whole bunch of little kiddie stuff and have them back around here on that little thing playing games for 8-9 hours a day. Don't you let your kids get away with that. Don't you let them get away with that. When we was riding yesterday, I told everybody, turn off your electronics. I'm not going to have no ignorant children and ignorant grandchildren around me. It is not going down like that. I am not catering to them because I'm not going to make bums and stuff out of them and cut off the legacy. They supposed to be here when I'm gone. And they supposed to be better than I am. And all your kids supposed to be better than you are too. That's the whole point. They supposed to be better than you, not just as good as you are. They supposed to be better. That's your legacy. So you don't want to have the legacy of old Bessie Jones, because on her epitaph it said, here lies the bones of old Betsy Jones. As it is written in life, she was never a terror. For when a turn came at the plate, she would often wait, and she died with no hits, no runs, and no errors. So she never swung. So what? She ain't had no money. She left a little house with some little equity and something in it. That don't mean nothing. Ain't nobody getting rich off of that. That ain't no legacy. That ain't no generational nothing. It's what? It's shooting at the ankles. And even when you win, you're still lost. And you satisfied with that? That is not the will of God for your life. You are a king and a queen. You were meant to be a baller and a shot caller and a what? Leave an amazing inheritance to whoever it is that you're going to leave in your inheritance to, which means money and wisdom. They got to have them both. Or else they're not going to, nothing's going to be sustainable. So before I go, I want to tell you one more story. And that's the story of Paul and how Paul kept his cool in the middle of an amazing storm. Read the story for yourself when you get a chance, when you get time, okay? It's in the 27th chapter of Acts. And Paul and these guys are getting ready to go into a recession, all right? They're getting ready to go into a major storm, a physical storm, which is the equivalent of a recession, all right? It's about to be really bad too. It ain't no pretty sight. So Paul tells them from the beginning, we're about to roll into a recession. We need to calm down and don't leave right now. So the cats on the boat, they're like, no, we want to hurry up and get there before the winter. So we want to leave right now. Paul said, God had already told me that we shouldn't leave now. But Paul is a prisoner and they calling the shots. So what? He got to go. So they get on the boat. This is in the 27th chapter of Acts. So they get on the boat and man, they run into this storm called, let me read this word to you. It's called a Euroclydon. This is the storm they run into. Euroclydon. Euroclydon. And you say, what is that? That's a strong, cold wind. They run into a storm that's strong and cold. And it's one thing for the wind to be hitting you real hard. It's another thing for a cold wind to be hitting you real hard. Are you hearing me? When I was a boy and when I was in high school, I went to CBS High School in Chicago. And we went to a game at Soldier Field where the Bears play. And I had on this little jacket called a members only jacket. I wasn't ready for the storm. I was not ready for the recession. Are you hearing me? And you know, I didn't know how cold it get at Soldier Field. It's on the lakefront. It's on the lakefront of Lake Michigan. I sat out there crying icicles. I was so cold, man. I was so frostbitten. My fingers felt like they was going to fall off. I was begging God for my life. I was like, man, I ain't never been this cold in my life. I got to be crazy. What in the world? I didn't know. I walked right into a recession unprepared with this little bitty jacket on. And man, I was freezing my bejeebers off. Are you hearing me? I thought I was going to die. I was begging God for my life. I said, if you ever get me out of here, I'm trying to watch the rest of the game too. I'm just trying to be a soldier and hang in there and watch the rest of the game. We end up winning. It's called the Prep Bowl. We end up winning the game, but I almost lost my doggone life. I was so glad to get out of there. I ain't never been that dumb again. All right. I've been cold again, but I ain't never been cold like that. That's what this wind is like with this, what they call it again. Let me read it to you again. Read this for yourself. It's in the 27th chapter of Acts. It's called a Euroclydon storm. All right. This is a real tempestuous northeast wind that blows in the Mediterranean. mostly in autumn and winter. So this is what they get caught up in the middle of. They get caught up in the middle of this recession. Okay, and I'm talking to you for a few minutes now before we go over to this class about how to stay cool in the storm. So it looked like everybody gonna die. So Paul told everybody, he said, listen, he said, don't worry about nothing. He said, the Lord had already told me that if you want to stay safe, just stay in the boat. They like, this Negro is crazy. The boat is falling apart. We ain't got nothing but boards around here and all of that. He said, just stay in the boat, you all. He said, everything gonna be cool. He said, don't worry about nothing. God had already told me that I got to go over here as a prisoner and I got to go over here and testify. And he already told me not one of you all are going to die. Nobody is going to die. Let me tell you something. If you're going to make it through this recession, you better get around somebody that God is talking to. Okay? You better get around somebody that's calm. Okay? Because God brings calm people into your life who have what? Been through the storm. And why? And why does he bring them into your life? So that they can speak life into your life so you can stop panicking. Why? Because you are the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around the most. And if you panicking, you're around a whole bunch of other folks that's panicking. But if you get around somebody that's got some good godly sense that God didn't talk to and that he continues to talk to, it'll rub off on you. And thank God that these brothers had enough sense to what? To let Paul's faith become their faith. If you right now are worried about what's about to happen to you and where your life is headed, if you're worried about all that, hitch on to somebody else and then use some of their faith for yourself. All right? That's okay. It's okay. Let some of that faith rub off on you because iron is sharpens iron. And there's nothing wrong with admitting that, you know what? I'm apprehensive about what's going on. I'm afraid about what's going on. I don't know what's about to happen to me next. I don't know what I'm about to walk into. It looks like it's a major storm up here. And I'm panicking right now. All right, get around some calm people like Paul. These guys are panicking. They think they sure enough think they're gonna die. I mean, the storm is cold and wet. It's a cold wind. It ain't just no regular wind. I mean, every time they hit their face, they get so scared they can't even eat. They fasted for 14 days, can't eat no food. Why? Because you lose your appetite when you think you're about to die. You ain't thinking about no steak. You ain't thinking about no hamburger. You ain't thinking about no Wendy's and no Popeyes chicken when your life is on the line. What, you lose your appetite. Have you ever been that nervous? Now, come on. I done lost my appetite before. I've been nervous enough to lose my appetite. Have you ever been? How do you get over that stuff? You get around some calm people. Somebody else who does what? Who can see what you can't see. Who has a vision of what you don't have. Who knows what you don't know. And then what happens? It transfers over onto you. So what ended up happening with everybody? They ended up on dry land, safe and sound, and not one person died. Why? Because they followed Paul's instructions. If I was you, I would find a calm person in my life who's talking to God, and I would follow their instructions. That's the last thing I would do. That's the last thing I want to leave with you about maintaining your composure and being cool, and not being worried about what's up ahead and all of that, even though we are headed towards a recession eventually. Eventually, there will be a recession. It could happen at the end of this quarter. It could happen at the beginning of next year. But all it is just a great opportunity to get rich. If you'll calm down, if you'll learn how to leverage what you have, if you'll do what? Become as liquid as possible and be able to do what? Help other people, whatever their problems are. You can buy businesses for pennies on a dollar when there's a recession because people are in panic mode. But if you're not panicking, and if you're going forward, then you'll be able to take advantage of what other people, if you run towards what everybody else is running away from, you can become very wealthy during a recession. It's always happened throughout the ceaseless ages of time. It'll happen to you too if you practice these principles. All right, I got to go. For those of you all who want to learn these $1 million words, we're about to do it right now. We're about to go over here in a minute. We're going to be live on a private Zoom. For those of you all who don't know how to get there, if you're here on Facebook, just go to info@stellarwealthmanagement.com. Put it in here one more time. If you want to come, you have to hurry up and send a message over like right now to info@stellarwealthmanagement.com. If you're listening here on YouTube or Facebook, info@stellarwealthmanagement.com. You can come to our class. It's going to start right now. I got to go. For the rest of you all who are listening here on Instagram, just DM me Masterclass, and I'm going to teach you $100 million words that you've never heard. And we use these. This is the language that we use to open up these trusts. This is the language that we use to become tax-free. This is the language that we use to be able to have generational money that we cannot spend. We make more money. We make too much money. We can't even We can't outlive our money and we can't outspend it based on what we've learned and what it is that we're teaching you. So if you're interested in that, come on over. Father, I thank you for these amazing brothers and sisters today. Keep us calm today, Lord, as we go through the storm, as we walk into any recession, any kind of adjustments that we have to make. Lord, help us to keep level heads. Help us to stay smooth. Help us to act like you. Help us to know that everything is already all right. Make us extremely wise and productive and amazingly proactive in everything that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see some of you all in class starting right now. It's been a plum, pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. And remember, stellar is as stellar does. Remember, God got your back. That ain't. God bless you. God got your back.